For example, when people say Almería is a sea of plastic, okay, this is bad branding. You should put out information about the carbon footprint of Dutch farmers. What is their carbon footprint? Their gas is subsidized. Without the subsidy for this gas, they would have no business.
How do you see the agriculture from Almería from the outside? Do you see us as a Formula One of the agriculture or not?
I mean, I think Formula One is about ultimate precision, the most expensive cars, winning every single little percentage. That's what Formula One is. It's the peak. I think Almería is not Formula One to me. I'm sorry.
Okay. What are the main differences you can see in any other part of the world compared of what you have been seen here in Almería, for example?
I like changing the idea of high tech, low tech. It's like right tech, because you could have an outdoor farm with sensors. And is it high tech? Is it low tech?
Welcome to Agrolife Podcast, the podcast where we talk about agriculture here in Almería, also in Spain. But now we are talking in English. Today we get international. Today we are with a very, very special guest for me. We are with Henry Gordon Smith, CEO and founder of Agritecture, one of the leading companies in the world teaching and showing how the future of agriculture should be. Today is a pleasure to have you here. Henry, how are you?
I'm great. Fantastic. Herman, thank you for having me.
So how was your first day here in Almería?
It was awesome. I've been to this region a couple times before, but I've only seen some of the more high-tech greenhouses. But today I got to see your greenhouse, the typical greenhouse here in Almería, see the way you're doing it. And it's always a fun day when I get to see a greenhouse and meet a farmer. So I loved it.
What was your first impression when you get into my greenhouse?
I've seen these greenhouses from the outside. I've seen some pictures, but they are really simple looking, like I have to say. And they're so close together, so many neighbors all next to each other, which is a bit different from the greenhouses I see around the world. Yes, in the Netherlands, they are close by, but here you are really close next to each other. And it's a really simple structure. You can see that it's been there for a while.
Yeah.
So I think just the focus on simplicity and a little bit low tech is a bit newer for me, because I work on a lot more high tech farms, to be honest, around the world.
Yeah, it's like that. For example, we don't know, and people don't know what we do exactly inside.
Yeah.
So sometimes we say, I share in my social media that we do magic with that, because we don't have anything, well, at least I don't have anything how to control, for example, humidity, the hot, and in general climate. And this is really, really tough for me, and also for the farmers who share the same structure as me. But yeah, so is that we go and we have to create and somehow give value to that,
But it's also very practical, right? Like you're focused on getting quality product at a reasonable price. Yeah. And if you go too high tech, it's too expensive. And this is one of the problems we'll talk about today, right? Is the role of technology, is it going to help, or is it going to just break the bank for the farmer? And yeah, I think it's sensible. It's practical to go with the right technology versus just high tech. But I guess there's the question of what else can you do to get a little bit better margin, a little bit better experience for the farmer and for the customer.
Yeah, that's key. So Henry, before going and get into more technical side, which we are going to go after that, I would like to know more about you. Well, the audience needs to know more about you.
Yeah.
Let's say, how did you get that interested, or how did you manage to find that passion for agriculture?
Yeah, let me tell you a story, because I'm not a farmer and I didn't grow up on farms. My father was an engineer and we lived around the world. So I was born in Hong Kong and Tokyo. My earliest years were in the biggest cities in the world, a concrete jungle.
Wow.
But in these cities, I did see and learn a few things. I learned how even just green spaces can be put into cities in smart ways. The parks had vertical gardens, or in Japan, there was lots of technology related to everything, how the city worked to make it more efficient. Mm-hmm. Gardens were smaller, smarter. So this was my young, early experience. And with my dad, I was always drawing things, drawing buildings, and I wanted to kind of be an architect. I liked to always design everything, cars, planes. I was always drawing. You give me a piece of paper and a pen, I was happy. When we moved to Europe when I was 10 years old, my parents started getting more into what they loved, which was gardening. My mom had a flower garden and my dad had a vegetable garden. And we bought a country house where they wanted to sort of prepare for their retirement. And this was the first time where I had to sort of help them with anything farming and gardening. And it's so much work. Like, it's so annoying. Like, as a teenager, I wanted to be in the city, but every weekend we would go to the countryside and I would start to learn to appreciate the good food that they would bring on the table because our garden produced everything. And I still wasn't super into it. And when I started studying in college, I was going to be a diplomat because I had a lot of international experience. But I had a professor that visited from Mexico, and he was an expert on water wars. Water wars are like the conflicts that countries have over water.
Okay.
And this exposed my mind to climate change, to this big issue. And for me, something went off in my brain that there's no bigger challenge for our society. There's nothing else like this. And from a political perspective, I didn't really believe that societies were going to get together and like prevent this. Like, we're not going to work as a team to prevent climate disaster. Like in our lives, like in everything, we let disaster happen.
Unfortunately, no.
Unfortunately, no. It's our human nature. So I started getting interested in technology and the relationship between water and food. And that is when I started thinking about agriculture. So what did I do next? Well, I started a blog, actually multiple blogs, but one was called Agritecture. And I just started featuring new technologies. It was really inspired because I had a rooftop of the supermarket across the street from me. And I thought, why don't we put farming on the rooftop of the supermarket? But the soil is very heavy. So I started researching hydroponics and greenhouses and then vertical farming. This was like 2010. Okay. So the early days of vertical farming. And that's how it began. Is like,
so you do that just for yourself, or just like a hobby, let's say?
Yeah, just because I couldn't get out of my head. Like, I was designing them and I was thinking about them, and it's sort of like this light bulb.
That's the name of Agritecture.
Exactly. It's agriculture and architecture together, because a farm in the city, which was my main interest at the beginning, was how we can localize farming and use technologies to use less resources. A farm in the city is different than a farm outside of the city.
Yeah.
You have different considerations. You have to think about the people in the city. You have to think about the different customers, the buildings that might create shade, the weight of the buildings. You're limited
with space.
Yeah, you're limited with space. You have to become smarter with space. And technology can play a role to help you with that.
Yeah.
But you also get other benefits, like the customer will pay the best dollar, or you can create agritourism or different things like this. So I was just researching it and putting it on a blog. And the blog got popular. People were looking for the same information at this time.
Okay.
That's how it started.
So you did the blog just in your webpage, let's say, in a blog, no?
Yeah, like Tumblr. Do you remember Tumblr back in the day? It was a Tumblr blog. And so I would reshare certain content, and every week I would write maybe 1-2 blog posts. I was in Canada at the time, and Vancouver had the first vertical farm, local garden, the first commercial vertical farm. They promoted themselves. They said, we're the first vertical farm. I went to visit it, and I featured this on my blog. And nobody was writing about vertical farming. I mean, there was like a book about it and some articles, but nobody was really being critical about it. Like, how will it work? How will it not work?
Yeah.
Everybody was just saying, this is the future. The future is vertical farming. And I was skeptical. I was excited, but skeptical. So I went to visit the vertical farm.
Why did you think so?
Because I think, look, nothing in technology is we say in English, a panacea, a pill that solves everything, right? There's nothing like that. There's always two sides. If you have more control in your greenhouse, you spend more money and more pressure to produce more.
Even in agriculture.
Especially in agriculture, there's these two sides. Technology never solves everything. It always has another side to it. So, the idea that vertical farming will save us by growing everything indoors, I knew that story was not the truth.
Yeah.
There are downsides to it. And we can talk about those downsides, right? Vertical farms only grow a small percentage of plants. Vertical farms take huge amounts of energy. Is it realistic to grow everything? No, for those two reasons, it will only be a portion of the food system. But still, it has benefits, less space, much less water, no pesticides. So for the city, in some places, it makes sense. But anyway, I visited this vertical farm, local garden, and it was a disaster, in my opinion. It had like robotic systems moving. It was bad crop quality, and I wrote about it. And this boosted my reputation as being more than just promoting it, but starting to be critical about it. And this is what people needed to think about. And the blog continued until I had to get more education. I studied more. I worked in greenhouses to get some knowledge of how farmers experience this. I would volunteer and do internships. And then I started getting consulting requests from my website in 2014. People who wanted to build vertical farms in particular started contacting me because I had a reputation as telling the truth and having the data.
Yeah.
Because one important thing is while I was blogging is I was always recording how much investment, how much yield, what are they growing, what technology they use. I had a big database, like a big Excel sheet. So my blog was the story, but the database was the foundation for my consulting.
Yeah, that's very important. When you talk about data and you have all the real picture of what's going on, this is very important. That's also happened to me sometimes when you set the data, because you can say whatever you want, but when you show the data at the end, people are going to trust you.
Yeah, it doesn't lie. You know?
Exactly. Data doesn't lie, so that's a real true. So I suppose that you have been traveling a lot around the world. We have been talking before that, and you told me that you didn't have let's say a real home.
No.
It's supposed to. Well, I guess that you know a lot about different kinds of agriculture around the world. So we have seen in my greenhouse, we had a lot of pressure, we have a lot of difficulties with plagues and so on. I would like you to tell me and tell us how or what are the main differences you can see in any other part of the world compared of what you have been seen here in Almería, for example.
Yeah, there are some similarities across the world in agriculture. You're right. I've been to every continent and I've seen farms in every continent. It's a big privilege that I get to do that and I get to share and learn. Labor problems are a challenge everywhere. Price challenges around inputs, regulation, these are all problems everywhere. But for example, in Almería, you don't have the same challenges with energy that they do in parts of Europe, right? In the Netherlands, they're going to have big challenges with energy. If you go to Canada, you also have some challenges with energy, although the energy is more renewable. So it's a little bit easier. There's a lot of hydropower, so it's a bit more sustainable. They don't have the issues with that. But in the Middle East, the energy is very cheap, but not sustainable. You know, so there's this energy question is always different across our type of agriculture, controlled environment agriculture around the world. There's also differences in the farmer structure. So is it a family farm? Is it a corporate farm? In the US, a lot of the farms are sort of corporate farms, I would say. In Canada, you see a mix. In the Middle East, you see people involved in the farming that have no idea. They have no relationship to farming at all, right? In Asia, you have a big mix as well of different types, but a lot of smallholder farmers. The size of the farms are very small.
Could be something like this, not like here.
More similar to here, I would say. Smallholder farmers, and one community will do it one way, another community will do another crop another way, and this is like little regional focuses. There's challenges across the world with volatility and climate change, changes in the pests, changes in the crops. And some farmers, I mean, honestly, most of them are pretty opposed to technology, but some of the regions are getting more accustomed to it just because of the incentives. Some are speeding up with it, right? Doing it faster. But I think the ownership structure is like different, like as well. For example, in the Middle East, something that's unique there is that a lot of the farms belong to locals. They were given the farms by the government, but they don't produce anything productive. They just like waste water growing dates. And they have no efficient system. And so there's a food security strategy, but there's a disconnect between the ownership structure for the farms. What else is different? I mean, I think consumer preferences are different. You know, in the US now, there's a big push towards local food, even more than organic now, right? And I think in Europe, still organic is very strong. The bio movement here is very strong. In the Middle East, you can do organic in a hydroponic greenhouse, which you can't in Europe. Like the certification is different. So there's these consumer preferences that are different. In the Middle East, for example, local food is not valued the same way. They see local food as lower quality. because the local farms produce only in the seasons and really low quality.
Yeah.
So if you start a farm, a greenhouse that's high tech, and you say local, it will not necessarily sell better in the market. There's a lot of education for the consumer. Well, in the US, you can charge 20%, 50% more for that product.
Do you think that there is an opportunity for us as a sector here in Almeria to, for example, as you have said, sell more organic food to the US, for example, which is a huge market?
I think the US is facing huge challenges around climate change.
Well, now it's impossible because of the tariffs.
Yeah, let's say in a few years what to prepare for.
Yeah.
I mean,
but maybe we can work on that, for the future.
Yeah.
Or maybe even for now. Okay, if they are going to apply us some tariffs, why not? We can, charge that, and that's all. But
well, I mean, the advantages that Canada and Mexico had in the US with the trade agreements are no longer advantages.
Yeah.
Right? So now there is an opportunity for other countries, you could say, because the tariffs are sort of everywhere.
Yeah.
Before Canada, the US, they supply all the fruits and vegetables for the US that are not grown locally. I mean, California produces more agriculture than any region, really. It's enormous what they grow, the crops. But everything else is grown Canada and Mexico for the US market, which is obviously a big population. But Canada and Mexico had good tariff rules, no taxes, no tariffs at all. And now they have tariffs.
Yeah.
So this will change where the food product may come from, maybe. I think there's opportunities. I think the US market will pay more for these products. They will pay more for quality. There is at least a bigger percentage of people that will pay more. It's not the whole market. Yeah. But I see the prices here in Europe versus the US on products. It's a big difference. Even in premium markets like Paris or London, like you see, still you pay way more in the United States for food products.
And people are paying for that.
They pay it, yeah.
They buy it. So, because I was chatting with a guest, let's say 2 podcasts ago, because he was working there in New York. But he was selling wines and so on.
Yeah, I heard this one a little bit,
Yeah, and he told me that people in the United States, they are into organic food. They really pay for the extra money that it costs.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, why do we don't have that opportunity? We don't use that market to sell. Nowadays, we can do it. It's easy. But I don't know why.
It's a risk. Like, it's also a question for you, right? Like, you're selling in a cooperative or a wholesaler. You get the bottom price.
Yeah.
Right? Instead, some farmers are creating a brand of their own. They're saying, I'm going to own the brand.
Yeah.
Herman peppers, whatever.
Agrolife melons.
Agrolife melons, right? You have an Instagram, etc. You create your brand and you start to sell on your own, and you get to have more of the margin.
Yeah.
More farms do this in North America because they can find.
Are they doing that in America?
Yeah, they are. I would say the vast majority of farmers still go your route, grow wholesale. But I think as new generation comes in, some of the farmers are taking the risks. If you upgrade your greenhouse to more technology, it's something to consider.
Next year, prepare.
Like, okay, now you are in a higher category of quality. Why are you selling just at the typical price?
Yeah.
So it's a risk. It's not easy. There's nothing easy in agriculture. But I think that is one way to hit the market. Also, during COVID, just as an example, the farms that had social media and were selling directly, they had more power as well to say to their customers, hey, buy directly from us. We need your support now more than ever.
Yeah.
When the grocery stores were a little bit less, with restaurants closed, things like this.
Yeah. There are many people, farmers here, who are doing that already. I had a farmer here who has his own brand, and he's selling by himself, and he's doing pretty well. At the end, we have to look for profits.
Yes.
So that's the reason we are here. Also, we are feeding people, we are helping them. But if we want to be sustainable at the end, we have to make profit, because if not, we are going to do another thing. But to reach that, in my point of view, as you have said before, I need to upgrade my greenhouse. We need technology.
Yes.
You are really, really into technology.
Yes.
Because you are architecture.
Yeah.
So how do you think technology can help the agriculture of the future?
Yeah, so let me just talk a little bit about what we do a bit more, right? Okay. So we do a lot of feasibility studies, and many of our clients are not farmers. So they are planning a new farm because they see a business opportunity in a market where there's typically less production or lower quality production. And so they are interested in technology because they are more city type people. And often they come to us and they say, I want to build a vertical farm, the most high tech type of agriculture, right? No sunlight, no soil, completely controlled, sometimes robots. And we give them the answers about this. But it's also our job to tell them how much technology they need. Technology, as I said, doesn't solve the problem. So sometimes they come to us and they say, I want to build a vertical farm. And we do the study and we say, the data says you should build a greenhouse, right? And we have to convince them and help them understand why a greenhouse will solve the problem. It can grow year round, it can use less water, but it doesn't have the high energy cost in some markets.
You show them the numbers.
Show them the numbers. And that's my job, is to help them see the best way for their investment to grow quality food, right? Our mission is to improve production and adaptability. So in this sense, the technology is about consistency. That's the business now, right? There is a business case for year-round production. So if I have clients in the Middle East, maybe 30% of my business right now is in the Middle East, these rich oil countries that want to grow more local food. They want year-round. They want to grow year-round. They're importing 85% of their food. They want year-round. So technology is absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
You cannot do it any other way in that temperature without it. So the goal is consistency. But in some markets, maybe like this market, there's climate change, right? There's shifts in the typical pests and plagues that you get, and there's a desire to create more stability. Even we do some work outdoor agriculture now, more outdoor. So in the Czech Republic, we worked with hops for beer.
Okay.
I love beer. Go check beer. It's the
too.
best. But the hops are really
Pilsen beer.
Pilsner beer, yes.
Pilsner beer,
To je
nice.
nejlepší. Okay, so this crop is really critical to the Czech Republic, third largest exporter of hops in the world. And the farmers, if you look at the data, the last 5 years, their yield is up, down, up, down, up, down. And they're saying, I cannot continue like this. I have no predictability.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
That's also happened here.
Yeah,
Sometimes.
and that's why this is important. And how do you manage volatility? Well, data can help, right? They need to understand, for example, if we look at their fields, where if water is running out, right? So there's droughts conditions, and that is affecting the yields in part. Maybe some parts of their farm have soil that keep the water better because it's a different type of soil.
Yeah, they
but
change.
But if they have no sensors,
Yeah.
and these farms have no technology, these farms are just typical way, they've been doing it for thousands of years. No sensors, they have no idea. So we visited the farms, we created typologies for the different types of soil, different types of elevation, different types crops, how old they are.
The structure of the soil.
Yeah, we really looked at what the conditions are, and then we installed IoT sensors like in your greenhouse to measure the soil, to measure the temperature, weather data. We even installed cameras to take pictures of the crops as they grow, to use AI to say, what can we see from the crop before?
I've seen some companies here doing that, but the price is so
It's
high.
You can buy cheaper cameras though.
Really?
That's the thing is there's people selling this stuff, but you can buy a cheaper camera. We use this company called Zeitgeist, and it's a good camera.
I've heard around 50,000 euros, something like this. For me, is impossible.
That's too much.
They
That's
say,
too much.
okay, but they can save you, I don't know,
No, I don't-
10% of losses every year. But at the end, you say, come on, it's too much.
I think
I prefer to upgrade my greenhouse.
Yeah,
rather
you
than
need to
do that.
watch, you need to consider which technologies are going to have the best ROI now. But in the future, these technologies become more valuable. But the short answer is the volatility.
So how can the farmers know which kind of technology is going to really help you, is going to be worth for you?
Look, I think
Give a tip, let's say.
Look, for me as a consultant, what we do to our clients is we go through the scenarios. Okay, if I have a hectare greenhouse, high-tech greenhouse, I can choose to have automation that will reduce my labor to 3 people in the greenhouse, right? I can choose to spend that money. But will I get that money back? Just crunch the numbers.
Yeah.
If you're not going to get that money back, or if the labor costs are low, don't do it. Don't do the robots if your labor cost is low right now.
Yeah.
Yes, you saved some efficiency, but you don't need it if there's low cost labor. But if I'm in a market where the labor is very expensive and it's hard to get, maybe I have to invest in this. And the same thing relates to these cameras. You could buy the cameras, or you could hire more people to look around and check on things. It's a similar thing. It's usually a question of labor. It's usually a question of is the labor cheap enough or not?
This is so interesting because you know why? I mean, if we talk about your job, it's very important. It's key because here in Almeria, I don't think we don't have it. If we talk about this, for example, there are many.
How do you answer your questions? How do you crunch your numbers for your farm?
By myself.
Yeah, but you do it like in an Excel sheet?
Yeah, exactly. In an Excel,
But I think the difference
year
is...
by year, I'm improving some data.
Yeah.
Because I cross the data, I say, okay, I spend some money here in this area. Now I have to spend less or half in order to put in this area to improve, I don't know, for example, sensors to improve and not to waste that amount of water every year.
Yes.
Because, you know, my first year of farming, I spent like 1,000 euro more in water and electricity because I didn't know how to water my plants.
Right.
So I installed the sensors, and in the second year,
to manage those costs.
I saved 1,000 euro.
Yeah.
Okay, there are...
And the sensor wasn't so much money.
No, it was like 100 euro.
Right.
Because now I got electronic one, which is more expensive. But at the end...
this is how you answered the question.
Exactly. But, for example...
And do you compare with other farmers? Like, this is also key because, like, we have a database. We have a lot of data from farms around the world, right? But you must work with other farmers to say what works for you.
We had plenty of guests here in the podcast, and they say the same. They compare the same opinion as me. They say, okay,
that's how you do it.
When I put this sensor, now I'm saving. Okay, I'm talking about saving water and electricity. But for example, what about controlling plagues, for example?
Yeah.
Okay, you talk about the cameras. Okay, see. Let's say the company who is going to install the cameras in my greenhouse, this company is going to tell me, okay, these are the numbers. I have to trust the company. The company wants to sell me.
Yes.
So at the end, I don't have any second opinion to compare. So this is where
we are the second opinion.
Exactly.
We are the second opinion.
You can be the second opinion and say, okay, Germán, look, I have this farmer, another one here in Almeria, and they are not saving anything with that.
And what we would do is we would crunch the numbers and also give you options. Like, this is the most expensive one, this is the medium one, this is the cheaper one, this is the difference in them. And it's not just a question of like how much it costs and how well it works. It's also the customer service. You know, do they know enough? Because I think with many of these new technologies, the farmer is teaching the tech company more.
Yeah.
And it's like, you don't have the time to teach them how it works.
Yeah.
But I will send you one. I wish I had the name right.
I think we can do business here.
I wish I had the name right now, but there was, because I travel, I get to see these technologies. There is one which I really liked, which is not a camera that's like static in your farm. It goes on your phone or your iPad, the camera. And as the worker is moving around, checking, it takes pictures and it'll give you yield projection and pest prediction. As you just do your normal work. So it's attached to the human, which I like, and it's like 300 euros a year. It's totally reasonable. Subscription. And it's a phone.
Where can I buy it?
A phone on iPad.
I want to buy.
I wish I had their name. I don't work for them. I'm
Tell me the company.
them. I will.
We can put the company in the notes. Of the
I will have to share it.
Okay.
Yeah, I have to share it. We can get to it. I'll put it in the notes.
Apart from your
I don't want to say the wrong one.
Yeah. No, I mean, this is very interesting, you know, because this company that I've heard, which is, well, they are doing an amazing job, but it's very expensive, you know. They use like
it's too much.
They use like cameras which they move on over your greenhouse.
Yes.
And they are taking picture all the time. Every 1 hour, maybe something like this.
Yeah,
and they are collecting the data and they are telling you, okay, you.
Why?
But they tell you just, okay, you got a problem here. You have to go and check it because they position by GPS everything and they send it to your phone.
But if you have workers, okay, so this is like why we need to think about when that works and when that doesn't work. If you have workers in your greenhouse that are relatively low cost, you don't need a camera going around. You need them to be able to look because you already are in the field. Yeah. But if I have a high-tech greenhouse that's automated, a glass greenhouse in the Netherlands that's robotic, I don't have people going in. My people don't go into the farm very often. Very few people. I mean, literally a hectare, you have what? 2 people. Yeah. And they are not there. They are in the processing area. They're looking at the computers. It's a different kind of job than the greenhouse in Almería. So then the camera makes sense. There's AI and camera tools that are getting popular, and they are working for Dutch growers. Why? Because the grower has 6 greenhouses. They have to manage teams across this, and the main grower, it needs to know what's happening in that farm over there because he's not in it. But here, it's not that typical. Yes, some people have more than one greenhouse, not that typical.
Yeah.
So I think the hybrid approach is very interesting. And this is what I like. I like changing the idea of high tech, low tech. It's like right tech.
Yeah.
What is the right tech for your facility? Because you could have an outdoor farm with sensors. And, is it high tech? Is it low tech? You could have a light greenhouse. I've seen light greenhouses now where they have CO2 in the greenhouse. It's just a very light greenhouse, but they have CO2 going through it to increase the growth. Is it low tech? Is it high tech?
Yeah.
So picking and integrating the technology is like the most fun part, to be honest, and the hardest.
At the end, we have to be profitable. So
that's the only, you're not sustainable.
If we spend a lot of money, that's a conversation I got with my technician who is visiting me every week. I was chatting with him and say, hey, I want to improve my greenhouse. I want to do like everything with automatic windows and so on. And I say, Germán, little by little. First of all, you have to try with manual window opening and closing, and then see what is going to happen.
Exactly.
And then jump into the automatic one, because it's a big investment.
Yeah.
And if you, first of all, you have to use the technology and then see how it works in your greenhouse. Firstly,
I think you're totally right. And also, if you install a bunch of new technology, which one is making the difference?
Yeah.
Like, it's not an experiment, if you're retrofitting your greenhouse.
You have to learn from that.
You start with one, like you said, you see, does it improve or not? You do the next one. What is going to make the difference? And you're right. You have to compete. So you have to get a little bit better every year. You have to get a little bit better because the pressure on the farmers is harder.
Yeah.
So technology plays a role, but just, I think it's about process. Like, what is your methodology as a farmer to think about technology, to learn about it? Do you learn from your podcast? Do you learn from events? How do you take that information in? And how do you think about adapting to the conditions with technology, making scenarios for the ROI?
Yeah.
If you don't have this, then you're not prepared.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's true. That's completely true. We have to somehow move into this way of thinking, I think, to be better farmers, I think that younger people, younger generation are doing like that. Yeah.
But also, like, younger generations are open, but also more naive. Like, we think technology solves everything. So
it depends.
So, like, you need to just balance it. Even me at the beginning, when I learned about vertical farming, I was like, yes, this is I was also very excited. But there's so many examples in agriculture, especially.
There are many people asking me, why don't you do like vertical farming in your greenhouse and so on. I said, I never went into more deep into vertical farming. So I would like you
Let's talk about it. Yeah,
I would
that's
like
my expertise.
Yeah, because I know that you are an expert on that.
Yeah.
I would like to know more from vertical farming, because it's like, I don't know if now it's like more trendy, more maybe, let's say. I've seen a lot of social media accounts connected with social media doing that kind of. There is one really, really good. I don't know if you have seen it, where they have like millions of views. They do like vertical farming in greenhouses. They are like, but everything looks like perfect. I don't know if it's like that, because I don't see any plagues. I don't see any bad plant which grow with, I don't know, some rotten leaf or something like this. Everything looks perfect. And is like that, or is not that?
No, absolutely not. Like, vertical farming has all of the same challenges that can only be solved by good operations. Like, the technology will get you some way, but the operations are good. So yes, a vertical farm is completely enclosed. Like, it's completely protected. So nothing opens. So pests cannot get in unless the human brings it in, but humans go in. So yes, you clean, you wrap yourself, you cover yourself, and you go in. Same like a greenhouse.
Do they have plagues in vertical farming?
They do. Yeah, they do. And if it gets in, it's worse, because you cannot get it out because there's no way to clean the thing out. So they do. Many vertical farms don't share that they have had those outbreaks.
Yeah.
And it's like a buffet for the plague, for the pests in there,
Pwah.
because there's no competition.
Everything is fresh.
Everything is fresh,
good.
everything is good, and they're really hard to manage. But yes, you see pest traps in the vertical farm. You see these things. They use IPM, you use ladybugs, you use beneficials in there. They don't spray, but if they have a pest outbreak, they kill everything and they clean the whole system. It's the only way to do it.
It's like a reset, no?
A reset.
Of
That's
the greenhouse.
then you use some chemicals to reset it. But they really try not to spray any pesticides in the vertical farm because it's completely enclosed. But the pests get in. So the pictures you see online are typically because they're new farms. The first year, the second year, everything's good. Like
everything clean,
everything's
white,
clean.
so white.
There's no puddles.
Yeah.
Everything's white. It's like a new Mercedes, right? And then it gets bad.
Yeah.
So it's really, really hard. And I think there are really the issues in vertical farming are because they're always getting bigger, and there's not examples of bigger vertical farms with the knowledge from the suppliers, even the knowledge from the consultants. We have some clients where we're designing vertical farms that are the biggest in the world. So we are very careful about the numbers.
Yeah.
But climate control is really hard because for all those layers in a vertical farm, you have to maintain, again, the business is consistency. That's the business, is like consistency. So you have to keep ventilation. You have to get equal light. You have to manage humidity. You have to make sure those plants, as they change in their needs, maintain that. And, hot air rises. So I've got stacked levels. So the level at level 10 versus 1 is different.
Totally
It's
different.
different needs.
My God.
So how do you design a climate system that works for that? And you're talking about the vertical farm I went to 1 month ago, the largest in the world, it's 20,000 square meters of grow area.
Wow.
Okay, the biggest in
All together.
4 chambers,
It's not okay.
4 different chambers. They grow slightly different things. And in this case, it's totally robotic. You don't go inside. Like nobody goes inside the farm. The tray goes in, it comes out.
I've seen something. It was that one where were in over water, something like this.
Yeah, they have, some are over water. In this
Okay.
case, most of those vertical farms do shallow raft system.
Yeah.
So it's like a raft and some water, not
Yeah.
too deep.
Yeah.
But yeah, if it moves and then the water comes
And
out.
they put like light inside.
Yeah,
for
every
what?
layer has lights.
Okay.
Every-
No, but inside the water, I've seen some.
Well, I don't think about lights in the water, but you might
Okay.
use UV to clean the water.
yeah, something like this.
to disinfect it. But that's typically
Okay.
happens outside. The water is recirculating in the system. It's really complicated. It's the same principles of a greenhouse.
What an investment! My
And
God.
huge investment. You're talking about, thousands of euros a square meter.
That's crazy.
Like really, really expensive. So it has to be worth it. But I think the problems exist. The problems actually in some ways can be worse because in vertical farming, you have a boss and the boss is not a farmer. Like almost never. All the top vertical farms,
They are investors.
they're just investors. They are business people. They have made money and they are investing in this. And the farmers have to run these businesses, but the way they're designed and the way it's very different from a farm. So the farmers have a lot of
It's
challenges.
another completely different history.
Yeah. So the culture is very different in the companies.
Yeah.
And a lot of the farmers struggle because the boss doesn't listen to the science. They think they can just grow more and
Should
more,
be
like a factory.
like a long-term business somehow.
Yeah, the ones that are successful now, many vertical farms have failed. The biggest vertical farms in the world, most of them are out of business now. We had a trend, like you said, to grow, and now they have failed.
Because for me, it's difficult to control in, let's say, normal layer, because there you got like different layers of plants.
Yeah.
So control every layer, let's say, with humidity, also
the pests,
temperature, pests, everything.
You have to check on it,
It's,
yeah.
it's a mess.
It's
So
a
you have to
mess.
do like everything robotic, no?
Yeah, that in a market where the labor cost is high, like the US, Canada, you go as robotic as possible. We do when we do our studies. But in the Middle East, honestly, sometimes with vertical farming, the cost is so high that you have to find a way to reduce it. So sometimes you say, okay, let's make it a little bit like cheaper.
Yeah.
And we have workers, we have ladders, honestly, sometimes vertical farms are like they're not low tech,
Yeah.
but they are lower tech than the others. And I think this is
More
okay.
like homemade, let's
Yeah,
say.
more homemade. Yeah.
Yeah.
I visited one vertical farm in California, and the farmer he grows citrus, he grows oranges, and he just wanted a vertical farm for fun, because he could sell the leafy greens on the weekend at the market and make money, because the citrus is only once a year he makes the money. So he just took an unused room where he cleans the things. He bought some plumbing.
Every 2-3 months he's selling it.
Yeah, he bought, if it's lettuce, it's every week.
Okay.
It's 30 days to grow.
Yeah, because
so every week he gets cash.
In vertical farming, you have mostly green leaves.
Yeah, mostly green leaves. Yeah, you're not doing anything
I've
else.
seen tomatoes and so
They're trying, but not
this is
commercial.
just for. I think this is just for the Instagram.
Yeah, not commercial.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to Almería. Vertical farming in Almería.
Okay.
Like, it could make sense for the young plants. So the young plants, any young plant can be grown in a vertical farm very efficiently and very dense. And the plant is clean. Like, it's a clean room. And this, because the plant is young, the disease issues in a clean room are very low. So young tomatoes, young cucumbers, young everything.
Yeah, but that is happening already in nursery.
They do vertical systems.
Yeah. More vertical system. Well, in chambers, yes.
In chambers,
in chambers, but
so,
not in the greenhouse, because they got like different steps.
Yes.
Firstly, they put in like in chambers,
yes.
and then they move
this
into
is
the
vertical
greenhouse.
Farming.
They are like moving it.
So let's say some farmers wanted to create their own nursery. You could invest in your own vertical farm and have your own young plants.
Okay.
And you would cut out that business.
Yeah.
This is a possibility.
Yeah.
But otherwise, no, you have great sunlight. If water
I'm doing already vertical farming with my peppers. You know, they go.
Yes, you're
they
going
goes
vertical.
No,
Yeah.
A lot of people ask me from everywhere, from
Yeah.
I don't know, South America or even in the United States. They ask me, how do you get that high from the peppers? Because they are not used to see that kind of
cool
of aid. So at the end, is something
saving space, something similar.
Yeah, and we got, because we don't have just pepper on the first layer, we got in every part of the plant. So at the end, it's like a wall of peppers. So
let me just finish on vertical farming a little more. Like, vertical farming is an exciting technology, and as climate change gets worse and difficulties for greenhouses gets worse, yes, there will be more vertical farms, even more crops, because the lighting technology gets more efficient. So we'll see more crops, but it's still going to be small. The next 10 years, it's a small market for luxury customers. In Spain, maybe you will see a vertical farm in Madrid growing herbs for a restaurant.
Yeah.
This is not a big food system, but you're not going to see big vertical farms taking the business from greenhouses, because any technology that helps vertical farms also helps greenhouses.
okay.
The same technology.
Yeah, it's like they diversify.
So vertical farm gets more efficient, so does the greenhouse. Like this. So only places where you have no space or the customer will pay for a really special product, then it will be there. So it's this, I like it. It's a good business for some customers, but we need to make sure we don't talk about it as the future of food or replacing farming. It's not realistic. Too much energy, too much capex for most of the farmers, and the consumers buying a pepper are not going to pay double.
Yeah, some people think that, okay, this is going to replace normal farming.
This is hype.
Yeah. So it's like a trend. It's necessary because, as you have said, in some scenarios could be worth. I don't know, maybe in countries such as Denmark or Nordic countries where they don't have a space.
Japan has a lot, because Japan in the 80s, they said no more forests will be cut down. So there's no more farmland. So they started putting lettuce in vertical farms. Even in the US, 90% of the lettuce, is grown in California and Arizona. But think of the East Coast, New York, Boston, Washington. All of that lettuce comes from Arizona and California, and they have no water. So why are we growing lettuce in the field, sometimes next to animals, which contaminate the water, and the lettuce makes people sick?
Yeah.
This is a problem. So vertical farms that are big on the East Coast of the US, they make some sense. There is a business there that can make sense.
Yeah.
Strawberry.
In this case, it's great.
So this is not that small of a business as well, but it's not every crop. It's not everything. I see some companies promoting growing wheat in vertical farms. It's hype. It's like in the next 10 years, it's not realistic. Maybe 30 years when the world gets much more difficult from climate change, maybe more crops, but still greenhouses are the best way for us to grow food year round sustainably almost everywhere. Greenhouses have way more potential. We need to make greenhouses more sexy than vertical farming.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Henry, in this case. Yeah, I mean, it's the future of if you want to be somehow, well, I'm talking for me, I mean, here in Almeria, if you want to be competitive in the market, we have to improve in that area of, as you have said before, technology, looking for new strategies of improving our greenhouses, our production, because we have competitors everywhere, and they are year by year appearing somewhere, more players in this case. So well, it's been tough, no, to hear that in some places, well, for me, in some places they are doing more greenhouses and so on, because it means that in the future we are going to have more competitors.
Yeah.
And I would like you to ask you, how do you see from another perspective, as I see, for example, the agriculture of Almeria, how do you see the agriculture from Almeria from the outside? Do you see us as a Formula One of the agriculture or not?
I mean, I think Formula One is about ultimate precision, the most expensive cars, winning every single little percentage. That's what Formula One is. It's the peak.
Yeah.
I think Formula One for me is the Netherlands.
Okay.
Because they have the top yields on most of the crops, least water use, least pesticide use, right? And their quality is known also internationally. Mm-hmm. I think Almeria is not Formula One to me. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But Almeria is maybe more like, I don't know, like Toyota. like it's dependable.
Okay.
It's quality.
Yeah.
It's predictable in some ways, you know, it's not taking the risks too far. I think it's I think it's quality and it's dependable is my impression. These are real farmers doing real work, you know. I think that it's going to have to adapt some technology, and also not just technology, but you need to market your product in more aggressive ways to get the value in the global marketplace as interests shift. As more countries build their own greenhouses, you're going to have to say, why here? Why is this better?
Yeah.
So this has to come from efficiency and brand. So I think I like the fact that the greenhouses here are more simple, because why spend money if you don't have to spend it? If you've got good climate, that's good. So that's your advantage. How do you leverage the balance of your climate, your experience, with the right technology, with the challenges over the next 10 years to compete?
Yeah.
So I don't think... I don't think you need to compare yourself to Formula One. I think you want to be something that's more broadly accepted, more welcome around the world, more known as quality and consistency is what's good. So leveraging this brand.
I totally agree. Yeah, if we compare with that in Formula One and Toyota, it could be Toyota lasts longer than a Formula One.
Toyota's a bigger
Formula One can break really
Toyota's
fast.
Bigger business.
Yeah,
you know, I think there are more greenhouses here than in the Netherlands. There's more hectares.
Yeah.
So,
and at the end, I think that as I said at the beginning of the podcast, we are doing magic with the resources that we have here. So at the end. The agriculture that we are doing here, I could consider Formula One, but not talking about technology, talking about the peak of the agriculture using technology and so on. I'm talking about Formula One, about how the farmers from Almeria can do the maximum profits from even nothing somehow. You know.
Well, again, this goes back to value, right? Like, I think the branding of the product is really important. How you work with your cooperative to create a product that's packaged in a way that consumers value it more. Yeah. Like, you look at the Dutch, right? Like or even the Germans in some markets, right? They put the product with the lettuce, 3 colors in one package, you know, or the pepper mix that you guys. These things are what consumers and. So I don't know how well Almeria and farmers are working with the retailers. I'm sure they are doing it. I'm sure they are. But this is where the competition is.
We got much work to do for.
Because the Dutch get more value. Why do they get more value? I mean, You know, why?
Yeah.
I think because they could bridge this relationship with the retailers as well. It's not just technology.
Yeah.
It's not just their skill. You have the skill too. You know, you can choose technology as well. But it's the branding piece that you have to compete
They are
with as well.
better at marketing than us, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think, for example, when people say Almería is a sea of plastic, okay, this is bad branding. You should put out information about the carbon footprint of Dutch farmers, right? What is their carbon footprint? Their gas is subsidized, right? Without the subsidy for this gas, they would have no business, right? They had no way to control those climates without those subsidies. So yeah, that's great. Good job.
Could be triple.
Good job.
The
If you have free energy or really cheap energy, of course. I mean, not of course. You can feed the world more easily.
Yeah.
But if you don't have that. Now, Almería has some subsidies for farmers too. This is normal everywhere. But I think this reputation of plastic being so bad for the environment, it's easy. It's like a cheap comment.
Yeah.
But if you look at the real thing, what is it, you know?
Yeah.
They're also exporting their product that has a carbon footprint. You are too. So I think the carbon footprint of a greenhouse here versus there is lower, obviously.
Yeah. And we are not telling this to anyone. So
yeah, and you should say
that nobody knows. So.
You should say this story, you know?
Yeah.
If you're a country importing product, what do you care about? Plastic that we use for a few years?
Yeah.
Okay, we use it to its maximum life.
Yeah.
Your plastic on your greenhouse, how long have you had it?
4 or 5 years.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years, okay? You are using it to the maximum.
Then we recycle.
And then you recycle.
We are not,
it's not
throw into the sea or something. We are recycling.
Okay, so you recycle it. Okay, so are you a country that wants to import from a higher carbon farm or a lower carbon farm?
Yeah.
If your country says you care about this, buy Spanish.
Yeah, that should be the message.
That should be the message.
I'm going to put in the thumbnail. Buy the Spanish.
Buy Spanish. Yeah.
No.
This is how you compete.
Yeah.
You know, with marketing.
Yeah.
I mean, in the end, that's like how you compete.
I'm going to focus more on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, should be like that. So Henry, I don't know how much to talk about. I think
we talk about a lot. Yeah.
So yeah. Wow, it's been dense. No, this interview. How did you feel?
I mean, I like it. Like for me, my job is so fun because I get to learn.
Okay.
I get to travel around the world. Like I've worked in 60 countries. So for me, it's a real pleasure, a real honor to see your farm, to learn more about this. It's about sharing knowledge.
Yeah.
If I can be of value to anybody listening, I would be happy to. And it's great to learn from you.
That is social media. That is the aim of my podcast.
Exactly.
At the end is to share information and experiences and see how agriculture is developing, improving, and helping the world. Because at the end, we are trying to support people and feed the people. So this is the message, should be the message. So Henry, thank you for coming.
My pleasure.
We reached the end of the English part of this interview. Because yes, this is my very first English
you did a great job.
podcast.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a bit tough for me because I was thinking sometimes what to answer to you in but the words came to me in Spanish because I'm not used to talk about agriculture.
Yeah, it's
in,
hard
in English. So yeah, for me it's quite difficult. But yeah, I feel also really good with you, talking to you. I learned a lot about vertical farming, what's your job and how you help people, how you help companies to run the business. So this is great. And also just say thank you to you for coming to Agrolife Studios, and hope you have been really good here.
Thank you so much for having me. Great time.
Okay, so this is the end of my very first English podcast. You can, find me out in every social network. I'm gonna leave the Agritecture social media in the comments down below, also in the description. And see you in the next episode. Now let's move into the Spanish one, if you want to hear it. Okay, bye.